It's a pleasure to introduce another fellow Trinity alumnus, Mr. Richard Rosen. Richard has spent most of his career here in San Antonio creating plays for people of all ages. He was trained as a playwright, but discovered early in his career that producing theater was actually his passion. During his Trinity tenure, he took a brief sabbatical in 1968 to work in the cultural department at Hemisphere 68, but returned to earn his BA from Trinity in 1969 and opened his first theater located in a vacant building in Hemisphere Park after that wonderful experience for San Antonio. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Richard Rosen.
Well, hello. You know, the last time I stood on this stage was 1974, and it's been a long time. We were coming off a tour, and we had the opportunity to do our final show here, and we did our final show full packed into in the Lori Auditorium. It was quite an experience, and I'm glad to be back. Let me get everything in the right place. Are we ready? Yes. I'm not. But you are. Okay, well, we're going to go ahead on. Here we go. I started my career as an actor. I became a playwright along the way, also a director, a teacher, and a producer. While working through what I wanted to focus on for this event, I think I discovered the proper title for what I do. I'm a founder. My true passion is being the artistic architect of the place actors call home. I graduated from Trinity in 1969. I came here to study with Paul Baker. Most of what I know about the creative process, I learned from him. I also learned the importance of process over result, the necessity of taking risks, the willingness to risk failure to produce great art. The first company I founded was born out of a need to make enough money over the summer for all of us college students to get by. Someone said, "Why don't we produce a melodrama?" Someone else said, "We need a space," shouted someone in the corner. "And money. Who can direct? Who's going to do this? What's a melodrama?" Well, we found out. Somehow I was chosen to run the company. There's nothing like being in the beginning. You like this picture, don't you? Yeah, it was quite a journey to get it. But let me hurry up or I'll miss that one. I had a little bit of talent, some potential, but above all, I had a lot of chutzpah. The chutzpah is the essential ingredient. Losing your chutzpah is as bad as losing your mojo. I had never run a theater. I had no idea what I was doing, but I was great at pretending I did. That's how I began to learn this business. Mel Brooks really hit it on the head in the producers. Raising money to look for theater is a combination of belief in your product and a willingness to do and say whatever it takes to make money. My best friend at Trinity, when I came back, Wink Kelso, was a great composer. We were also searching for one brilliant idea, and we found it. Alice, the rock opera. We took the familiar story of Wonderland and based it on the real-life story of Lewis Carroll and the relationship he had with Alice Liddell. Act 2 took you down the tablet rabbit hole into the Wonderland he wrote for. Act 3, we cut the night before we opened. I won't tell you why, but we never brought it back. It's buried in some archive somewhere. Alice was originally commissioned by the Army because they wanted the soldiers to feel a little more comfortable about going to Vietnam and coming back, hopefully. In 1973, I opened the San Antonio Theater Club, producing classic plays above the melodrama. We did an 8 o'clock performance every night, and followed that with a different show at 11 every night. We had a theater and talented artists who were eager to be part of something fresh, so we produced Alice ourselves. Alice was a seminal moment in San Antonio theater. It opened to sold-out houses, and people never stopped coming. Every time we set a closing date, our audience demanded we extend it. An original musical created and performed by local talent whose popularity allowed us to pay artists a living wage, which was unhappy at the time. As you can see, I can't see and I can't talk very well, so that will go on. That was the beginning of my passionate obsession with that crazy notion that artists should be paid fairly for their work. It is a fundamental part of my philosophy. Thank you. I keep that up. You cannot expect to keep good local talent if you're not willing to pay them what it's worth. Being an artist shouldn't mean you have to jiggle 5 gigs just to get by. After playing in San Antonio for over a year, we ended up taking the show on the road. We played Houston, Dallas, both for 6 months each. We were deluged with offers from Broadway producers and record executives. Everyone was trying to sign the next Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice. I've collected a lifetime of memories in my years with Alice, but I never got an autograph from Tim Rice and Andrew Lloyd Webber. I'm still waiting. Life moves quicker than you realize, right? As my priorities changed and my tastes evolved, I stumbled upon a theater movement I never thought I'd be part of. I had opened the Illegitimate Theater in a storefront on Commerce Street in the mid-90s when I realized there was a severe lack of art being made for children in our city. With my own children as the inspiration, we transitioned our new theater from doing late-night showings of Rocky Horror to the complete opposite side of the spectrum. Children's theater, that's what we did, children's theater. I didn't think calling it the Illegitimate Children. You like him too. I'll make sure he comes with me next time. Again, I had no idea what I was doing as we opened the theater. I came at it the very same way I did every company I founded. Rooted in what I learned from Baker, putting process before product, I began remolding my philosophies in theater and art to include younger audiences. I discovered that the only way to successfully teach a young person to be an artist was to treat them like a person, not like a young kid. Magic was to be a place where no one was talked down to and everyone felt welcome. I like to call what I do family theater and pride myself in knowing that it's not just the kids who have a good time for the hours they spend in our seats. It's the parents, the teachers, the grandparents, and anyone else who loves great music and a great story. Great art opens eyes wide and large. You hear a lot of complaints about the lack of quality theater in San Antonio. I believe that great theater can only continue if you educate a generation of young people to appreciate art and demand it. That you must make sure it gets made. That's why I believe that what we do is so vital. After spending the last 24 years working with young people, I can't imagine going back to traditional theater. Great art opens one's eyes. Literacy was also a critical piece of the puzzle. The other half of our mission is to produce literary-based shows on our stage. Seeing children's eyes light up when they are an audience to the inner workings of their imagination, that's the greatest thing you can ever see. That's the real magic. A quarter of a century later, I am proud to say Magic Theater is going strong. I'm moving faster, but Magic Theater is going stronger. To quote a new hotshot in the theater world, a legacy is planting seeds in a garden you never get to see. Well, Lin-Manuel, in my case, I have to disagree. I see my legacy on the face of every child who's seeing theater for the first time. I see it in the many students who've gone through our program and are now making art their own. How lucky am I to see the work of the people we've touched and changed people, how we've changed their lives. I retired last year from my everyday job at Magic. Retirement is strange and foreign for an artist. I don't think I like it. In fact, I know I don't like it. I'm beginning to get a great itch, and that itch is telling me to start a new theater, and that's what I'll be doing. My theater is still waiting to be found, still waiting to be designed. I hope to see you all there on opening night, and enjoy theater and demand that it be great. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Richard.
Can I do a whole nother chapter? I have so much more to say.
We'll see how much.
No, I'm kidding.
Seriously though, what strikes me is you were probably one of very few people who have seen Hemisphere Park and that Hemisphere area come from its seminal moments in '68 through those transformative years in between, and now really just in the last few years, there's been a new revival of that area. I'm just curious if you have any quick comments on what it's like to have been kind of bookmarking that really magical place.
I'll try to make it quick. I started when I was at Hemisphere. I was a senior in college, and I worked in Department of Arts and saw a lot of things that went on there. We put on shows. We did all kinds of things for the summer. But my theater has always centered around Hemisphere. We started in an old building way on the outside of the Hemisphere, which was destroyed, and then we moved to what we called the Humble Building at that time, and then we moved to another location. We moved to the Beethoven Hall, and Beethoven Hall allowed us to have the opportunity to actually have experienced almost the whole experience of the show of Hemisphere happening. Hemisphere was a great experience for all of us. It was so good for so many young people. That answer your question? I mean, I could tell you hundreds of stories about Hemisphere. I could tell you a great story about Lyndon Johnson, but I don't know if you want to stay any longer.
How about this? Let's get one last comment on where we can see you next. Obviously, you have some big dreams that are coming together. Is there anywhere specific you can point us to kind of get a little sneak preview or a little flavor for what's next?
Now say that again. I'm sorry.
Where can we see you next besides this
I'm on the
big
corner
dream?
of Broadway and 2nd Street.
Broadway and Second.
No.
Party afterwards.
No, you
Thank you
can.
very much, Richard Rosen.
You can reach me. I'm still at the Magic Theater. I haven't fully retired. I have a show that I directed that's on now, and we'll continue to do everything I can to see that theater grows and creates that legacy that we have worked so hard to keep at the theater. So there's a lot to do. The theater's growing, but the city needs more theaters. And so my job for the rest of my life will be to promote more theaters, to create more theaters, because that's what I do.
Well, thank you in advance for all the work you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you.